on the tape.
So with the release of Spider-Man Far From Home, I figured there's no better time to rank all of the Spider-Man movies. That's including Into the Spiderverse, Andrew Garfield's The Amazing Spider-Man, Toby McGuire's original trilogy, and the 2 Tom Holland films we've gotten so far. I will not be including Civil War, any of the Avengers movies, because that's not Spider-Man. That's not a Spider-Man movie. But I also want to touch on, it's not in the ranking because it's not a movie, but the Spider-Man video game, which is one of my favorite games, probably of all time now. I absolutely loved it. Thought that Spider-Man was like perfect, and the way they included Miles Morales into it was awesome. If you haven't played the game yet, I'm sorry for spoiling that, but you should definitely get on it because it's an amazing game. But getting into it with my number 8 would be The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But admittingly, I have some fun with. I mean, the plot's all over the place. The love story's not quite as good as it should be, but I don't mind Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I know a lot of people hate him as Spider-Man, but I thought he did a solid job. And he was more of a like cool, fun, cocky Spider-Man, not a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, I guess. People wanted more of that, and that's what we get with Tom Holland and Toby McGuire. But I thought for his portrayal, he did a great job. Getting into my number 7 would also be The Amazing Spider-Man. A way better movie than the second one. I think its plot and direction is all better. Some of the high school elements don't work because Andrew Garfield's a lot older. I mean, Toby McGuire was too, but he just, I don't know, I feel like Peter looked like he was too cool already. Like, he wasn't the nerdy guy we're used to, and it just didn't work totally, but it was a better movie than the second one, and a more watchable movie. Getting into my number 6 would be everyone's really hated movie of the original trilogy, like, absolutely despised, Spider-Man 3. What I just rewatched in 4K, like, last week, I binged the whole, one day I watched every Spider-Man from Toby McGuire in 4K and fell in love with them all over again, and that's probably why Spider-Man 3 is a little higher than maybe The Amazing Spider-Man, what might be a better movie. But I still love the movie. I mean, it's not good. The emo Toby McGuire dancing scenes are god-awful, but I have a lot of fun with it, and it did a lot of things different. And Venom, the look of Venom, I actually prefer the look of Venom in Spider-Man 3 rather than Venom. I think Venom's a better portrayal, but the look, just, I felt like it was more realistic and more grounded, and I liked it. Also, Venom will not be on this list because I don't consider that a Spider-Man movie since he did not make an appearance in it. Moving on to number 5 would be our first Tom Holland appearance on here would be Homecoming. I loved Homecoming coming out of the theater. Homecoming coming out of the theater. But I loved it coming out of the theater. I thought Tom Holland was the greatest Spider-Man of all time. I'm not sure if I feel that way still. I was so hyped up for it when I went in, and when it was great, I was like, wow, oh, he's so good. I do think he hits the perfect balance when it comes to Peter and Spider-Man. We didn't get that with Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield. The high school element really worked. You could tell he's younger. He looks of age. He looks of Spider-Man high school age. His love for other people, like, I forgot the girl's name, Lisa or something? I don't remember her name, but he had, like, a love interest in there. And it really worked. They felt, like, realistic, how a kid would be when he has a crush on a girl, especially a girl who's so smart, so pretty, and you're, like, this guy that doesn't really stand out, at least in your opinion. And then you have this alter ego of Spider-Man that's such a cool guy, but it's like, do I use that for my advantage or should I not? And he has that conflict throughout. And then the twist of the villain, what I'm not going to ruin, I mean, I most likely you've seen it, Michael Keaton plays the Vulture. What great villain. He did a perfect job portraying it, and the twist they do really worked and caught everyone off guard. At least it caught me off guard. But all in all, great action, fun movie, definitely a worthy MCU edition. Now for my number 4, what's building off that, Far From Home. Far From Home to me was so much better than Homecoming. And I liked Homecoming, but we got Peter, the conflict of being a teenager, like his conflict of, I want to talk to this girl, but I have a mission I have to do, and like balancing that, and the real trouble for Spider-Man throughout our original trilogy that we noticed he could not manage both. We see that in this film, and the way he goes about it is such a kid-like way, because he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what the right way to do it is. It was great. Along with a great villain portrayal by Jake Gyllenhaal. Maybe, I will say, a lot of people probably had problems with the way they portrayed Mysterio and certain things they changed. I didn't mind it. I mean, I can see the problems with it, but all in all, I didn't mind it. It has some of my favorite scenes in the MCU so far, and I think it's the best. Like, the cast performance as a whole was great. Comedy, hit or miss. They had some really funny lines that had me cracking up in the theater, and then they had some lines where it was like, you're really trying to push this joke, and it's not working for me. But it's not a perfect movie. I just reviewed it in a vlog we did yesterday, so check it out. We also have Sam's thoughts on that in that video. But coming in at number 3, we're getting into our top 3 movies from Spider-Man, and that would be Spider-Man 2. What's most people's number 1. I know that, and I know I'm gonna get crap for it. I love the second one. I love Doc Ock. I love Spider-Man in that. I thought the train sequence was so important, and it just showed like unity. And I feel like the Spider-Man movies, in a way, very much so represented New York post 9/11. I don't know if they were going for that, but you could tell they wanted to show New York's a united like city, and even that there's crime and vigilantes and this and that and cops and all that. They wanted to show the unity, and the train scene, that sequence is very iconic and works. It comes off a little corny. I'm not gonna say it doesn't, but it works for what I look at it as. But getting into number 2 is an animated Spider-Man movie that came out last year. I believe it was in my top 5 for 2018. Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. The only Spider-Man movie on this list that does not have Peter Parker as our main antagonist. Peter Parker as our main protagonist, and it has Miles Morales taking on that role. And I just loved everything about this movie. It was a perfect movie in my eyes. The animation style, the way they portrayed Spider-Man and Miles Morales and all of them, all the different Spider-Men, I thought it was going to be a little too much. It worked. The soundtrack was amazing for this film. That soundtrack was just so perfect for what they went for. Seeing Brooklyn in the way, like I live in New York, so I've been to Brooklyn, and seeing it in cartoon, and it looked just so like actual Brooklyn, it worked so much. And the comedy worked, the action. I love this movie. I gotta rewatch it soon. I haven't watched it in a little bit. And everyone who hasn't seen that movie, go watch Into the Spiderverse. I don't care if you don't like Miles Morales and it's Peter Parker. Miles Morales is awesome. He was awesome, and I fell in love with the character. I was on the fence too, because I was so used to Peter Parker, but now I want a live action Miles Morales. And I think it'd be awesome if they included him into the MCU somehow and kept Peter, like both of them. I think that'd be awesome. Now getting into my number one Spider-Man movie, what you all probably know, because process of elimination, would be Spider-Man the original. How I said post 9/11 New York, like there's a full scene at the end of this movie that just so like hit on the head, because this movie came out right after 9/11, and they're on the bridge and Spider-Man struggling against the Green Goblin. What a lot of people hate. A lot of people think Green Goblin's cringy and corny and too campy and all that. Guess what? I love the Green Goblin in this. Especially seeing the Green Goblin in Spider-Man 2, or the Amazing Spider-Man 2. I'll take the motorcycle helmet over the top Green Goblin every time. It's fun, it's campy, it's different, and as I was saying, I got off track, but the bridge scene where New York, you mess with Spider-Man, you mess with New York. That's like the cringiest line, the cringiest scene. All the people are throwing stuff off the bridge at the Green Goblin, but it came out in a time where I feel like New York needed that. Needed representation of how we were after 9/11. I was only like 6, 7 years old when 9/11 happened. I wasn't totally in on it. I didn't know what was going on, but growing up and watching that, I feel like it was so important back then to see New York for New Yorkers to see themselves represented as a together, like, team. And that scene did that. I mean, it does come off a little too much at times, a little campy, but it works. And the origin story-wise, I think they killed it. The origin of Spider-Man in this movie is great. Like, they go through the motions of Uncle Ben and this and that, but it all worked for me. And Uncle Ben, I would love to have Uncle Ben as my uncle. He's a great guy. Like, especially this movie. Like, the guy, I forgot the actor's name, but the actor who portrays him does it so well. And Aunt May, such a sweet old lady. The different characters, the different friendships and their relationships, whether it be Spider-Man and Aunt May, or, well, Peter and Aunt May, Mary J. and Peter, James Franco's character, Norman Osborn? I forgot his name. Norman's the dad, but all the characters having relationships, and they all felt a little, I mean, yeah, it's a movie, they're a little off at times, but for the most part, I felt like they were real connections, and I just, watching it again last week in 4K, I was like, wow, I forgot how much I loved this movie. So it's been a while since I've seen it. So that might be why it's my number one. It might be my number one because it's the best one, but probably because it was my most recent watched. And I'm sure the order will change every time I watch one of these movies. Let me know down in the comments below what your ranking is. If you don't feel like ranking them all, just give me a top 3. Who's your favorite Spider-Man? Toby McGuire, Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield. Hopefully some people love Andrew Garfield. He deserves some love. He's a great actor. I mean, the movies around him weren't great, but I thought he was a solid Peter Parker, Spider-Man, whatever. Let me know, though, down below, your thoughts on all of them, any of them. Up to you. I don't care. Like the video. Subscribe. Trying to get to 50 so I can do a room tour. If you get me to 50, I have to clean, and I really need to clean. So try to get me to 50 for a room tour. Share the video around to people who would like these kind of videos about movies, the movie community. I love talking to you guys. Hit the bell, because YouTube doesn't... You subscribe, it don't matter. You gotta hit the bell. And we'll just see you in some more ranking videos, and so on.